Telehandler Facebook Live event. Thank you for joining us. My name is Adam Lucia. I'm the Telehandler Product Application Specialist, and I am based in the UK. I have been with Caterpillar for 8.5 years. To you about our agricultural telehandler range. Excuse me. So we have 5 telehandlers in our range. Along the bottom, we can see we have the 357, the 408, and the 3510. And you'll notice that we have TH and we have D behind the nomenclature there. So just to explain a little bit about our telehandler nomenclature. So TH stands for telehandler. The 4 and the 0, as the example in the middle of the slide there, that references the maximum lift capacity. So with regards to the 408, that's 4,000 kilograms. And then we reference the max lift height, which with regards to the 408 is 8 meters. And then D is the series of machines in which we are currently. So for the TH408, it is a telehandler with a 4,000 kilogram lift capacity with a maximum reach of 8 meters, and we're in the D series. The lift capacity with the maximum reach is not to be confused with it can lift 4,000 kilograms at 8 meters. It's the maximum lift capacity and the maximum lift height is 8 meters. So along the bottom of the slide there, we've got our ag handlers. So these are our 3 agricultural models, which I'm going to talk to you about in more detail today. As I've already mentioned, we have the 357, so that's a 3.5 ton, 7-meter machine. We have the 408, which is a 4 ton, 8-meter machine. And we have the 3510, which is a 3.5 ton, 10-meter machine. Along the top of the slide, we've got our 314 and our 417. These are construction machines / rental, ideally suited into that rental space and, of course, construction. We will do some more sessions, hopefully, as we move forward on the 314 and the 417. But as I mentioned today, we're focusing on our ag handlers. So on this slide here, just an overview of more detail into our agricultural machines. So as I've already mentioned, you can see there, following the nomenclature, you can see the maximum lift capacity for each of those machines, and you can see the max lift height as well. One thing to note is the 357 and the 408, they're both 2-section machines, so that's a 2-section boom. Along with the 3510, which is our biggest machine in our agricultural machine sector, and that's a 3-section boom. It's worth noting that all 3 machines have hydraulically driven booms. Coming down the slide, you can see that we do offer various powers across the machines. 92.6 being the kilowatts, or 124 horsepower being the lowest power offering, and then the highest power in offering is 106 or 142 horsepower. All of our machines are powered by the C4.4. We do have HRC and LRC options, so we can satisfy the European market, and we can also satisfy Africa, Middle East as well. There are differing options with regards to what power ratings are offered into those different regions. Coming down, we have transmission. All our machines are power shift with a 6-speed power shift transmission. So when I talk about power shift, that basically means that you have to power the transmission. So when you're driving the machine, you have to press a button on the joystick, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, to go up and down the gears in the transmission. I've referenced TLU there. That stands for torque lockup, and I'll touch on the torque lockup a little bit later on. And then the other thing to note, as is standard across most agricultural machines these days, and telehandlers being no exception, we offer a variable displacement pump as standard. and the benefit of that is you can have maximum hydraulic functionality, power, without having to have a large amount of engine revs to be able to get the amount of hydraulic power that you require. So there's obviously savings there with the fuel efficiency, etc. But yeah, as I say, we offer that variable displacement pump as standard across our telehandler range. So moving on this slide, I'm just going to go around, do a virtual walk around of our machine. So we have our cat ag handler there, and as I say, I'm going to go around in an anti-clockwise fashion, and we're just going to talk about the various features and the benefits that go along those features on our ag handler machine. So starting off with the parallel powertrain. So when I talk about powertrain, I'm talking about engine, transmission, and also the hydraulic pump. As you can see in that image, the engine and the transmission is mounted parallel to the chassis. Other telehandlers do have the engines mounted transversely, so that means that the engine and the transmission is mounted across the machine. We've decided that we're going to mount our engine and transmission, as you can see there, parallel. Now, the benefit to that is, as you can see, you can go up to the side of this machine and you can see that we have fantastic serviceability. You can go up to the side of the machine, you can get to all of your filters, you can get to all of your dipsticks, you can perform all of your routine maintenance, and you can see what you need to see around the engine in a safe manner as well. You can get to the transmission, same as with the engine. The transmission, you can get to the filters there, and you can get to the dipsticks to be able to perform all your routine maintenance. So one of our biggest differences to other machines, but obviously it has great benefits to the end customer to be able to perform all of those service checks and be able to keep the machine up and running as much as you need to be able to. Couple of points here. So we have dual axle braking as standard on our machine. So we've got oil immersed disc brakes in both axles, and that allows for a smoother braking effect when you're roading or at high speed. And then we have large ground clearance. So the machine is high off the ground. When you're going over rough terrain, you're not going to be going down a rut or falling down tram lines on fields, etc., and hitting the underside of the machine. So having that high ground clearance allows you to move across rough terrain with ease and at speed without having risk of damaging the underside of the machine. Coming around to the front of the machine, at the boom nose, we use the ZBar linkage. Now, the ZBar linkage, along with some other systems, which we'll touch on as we move around the machine, we use the ZBar linkage, which gives us great mechanical breakout forces. So if we think about the machine going into a muck loading application, muck tends to be wet and dense and heavy. So if we have good breakout forces through the ZBar linkage, that allows us to rack back the coupler and break out of that wet, heavy, dense material fairly easily. And along with the other system, which we'll talk about, along with the good engine power and the hydraulic power, it makes for a really productive, powerful machine. At the front of the machine, we offer a range of CAD-approved work tools, so buckets, muck grabs, a range of bale handling tools. They are available. Speak to your dealer about those CAD-approved work tools. We do offer competitive couplers as an option from the factory. We know that we may be displacing a competitive machine on a farm. We don't expect the customer to have to change all of their work tools. So we offer a range of competitive couplers to be able to find a solution to meet your your work tools that you have on farm already. And we do offer front auxiliary hydraulics as well. So we have a single or double bank of front auxiliary hydraulics. So you're able to use those hydromechanical tools that we see on farms today. So anything from a broom, silage shear, silage defacer. There's lots of hydromechanical work tools on the market today, and our machine is able to look after the hydraulic requirements to the majority of those through the front auxiliary hydraulics. Adaptive LSI. So I spoke about the ZBar linkage and having mechanical ability to have great breakout forces. Adaptive LSI is the other thing that allows us to have a very productive machine when we're doing bucket loading work. Now, LSI is a European requirement on our telehandlers, across all telehandlers, in fact. And what the LSI does is it basically allows the customer to, or the operator, excuse me, to operate the machine within its safe working capacity. So as you can see in the image, there's a bank of lights. When you're working within the safe parameters of the machine, so if we think about a 408, it has a 4,000 kilogram max lift capacity. When you're working in and around or below 4,000 kilograms, the lights will be going green because you're working in a safe way. The machine's not overloaded at all. But if you was to take that load further out, if you was to boom out with the load, then obviously the ability to lift that load as the boom moves further out, you would see that the lights on the LSI would go from green to amber, and then they would go to red. Now, in standard operation, the adaptive LSI would then lock out the hydraulics, and that's to prevent the machine from tipping forward. The only hydraulic operation that you would be able to do would be to lift the boom up and retract the boom so that you bring the load back onto the machine and bring everything back down to its safe working levels. Now, there are two modes. That's why we call it adaptive. So as I said, standard working would be that you would be operating the boom with the handbrake on and the machine in neutral. In that case, you are working in the active LSI. So the LSI is working as it should do. So the hydraulics would lock out in the example that I've given. But if we think about an operator who is doing a large amount of muck loading, and as I've said before, the muck tends to be heavy, wet, dense material. When the operator is going in to that pile of muck, he wants to be able to take a full grab, a muck grab full, to be able to go and load into his muck spreader. We don't want him to be having to take little bites of the pile to be able to keep the operation of the machine going. We also understand that we don't want the operator to have to go to that pile of muck, handbrake on, machine in neutral all the time to be able to do what he needs to do. So we have another mode. I've spoke about active. We have another mode called passive. Passive LSI is basically where the operator has the machine in gear and the handbrake off. So we're in that muck loading application. The operator comes up to that pile. He moves into the pile. He takes a full muck grab full. And if I use the 408 as the example again, so the max lift capacity is 4,000 kilograms, then he needs to be able to break through that pile and go and load his muck spreader. But we appreciate that the moment at which the operator is trying to break through that muck pile, it's going to exceed 4,000 kilograms. So we don't want to limit the machine and the productivity and frustrate the operator. So in the adaptive LSI, as I said, we have the passive mode. So the machine is handbrake off, machine in gear. The operator has gone into the pile of muck. He's taken a muck grab full. And because he's got the handbrake off and the machine in gear, we're in passive mode, as I've mentioned a few times. So he's able to break through that pile. Momentarily, he has exceeded the max lift capacity of the machine, but he's able to move out from that pile, reverse round as he's broken through that pile. Because the work tool is right sized to the machine, it brings everything back into the safe working limits of the machine, so 4,000 kilograms. The LSI lights will go back down to amber and probably green, and the operator is able to seamlessly carry out his task, go through, load the muck spreader, and come back round and perform that task. So it's one of our key features on our machine, and it's a feature that is across all telehandlers in Europe. But the way in which we allow the operator to carry on seamlessly without frustration is a massive benefit. So we, the dealer, we as Caterpillar, we can come out, we can show you how this works, and we can give you true life demonstrations of this adaptive LSI. Moving on, so of course, we know that operators spend large amounts of hours in these machines during peak times of the farming calendar. So we wanted it to be a comfortable place to be. So with D Series, we really did revamp and redesign our cab. So it's ergonomic, it's comfortable. We've got great air conditioning. We've got adjustable armrests, etc., to be able to allow the operator to really have a comfortable day, spending a large amount of hours in the machine. One of the other things that the operator can enjoy now is our ergonomically designed joystick. So I mentioned earlier about having to go up and down the power shift transmission by depressing buttons. Of course, the operator wants to be able to do everything as at the touch of a button. He wants to have everything in one place, so on the joystick. So we redesigned this joystick so not only can the operator do all of the main hydraulic functions with his thumb across the face of the joystick, he can also go up and down the transmission, as I've said, but he also needs to be able to change direction. Now, previously, we had a much larger face on our joystick, which meant that the operator had to not only operate his hydraulic functions and transmission functionality, but also change direction. So with the opportunity to change the joystick, we decided to redesign it and move the directional F&R switch to the trigger finger. So if you look at my finger here, this is my trigger finger. So if you can imagine the joystick, I'm operating the hydraulic functions of the machine, but I'm also able to change direction with my trigger finger. Now that means that thumb fatigue is far more reduced. So again, when the operator is spending a large amount of hours, they're not getting out of the machine at the end of the day with their thumb and their hand aching. So this ergonomic joystick, although it may seem a very small point, it's actually a large feature to our machine and has received very good feedback from our operators in the field. As with the front of the machine, we also offer rear auxiliary hydraulics. So a good example of why you would want these if you were towing a trailer. So most trailers these days are tipping, hydraulic tipping. So with a single bank of rear auxiliaries, you're able to tip and lower the trailer. But then also, if you were to select an option from on the machine, which is a double bank of rear auxiliary hydraulics, you're also able to have a hydraulic activated tailgate as well. So you can, from staying inside the machine, you're able to tip and also raise the rear hydraulic, you're able to use the auxiliary hydraulics on the rear of the machine to tip the trailer and also operate the hydraulically activated tailgate. And, staying on the same subject of towing, we have a variety of tow hitch options, from hydraulic to, even if you don't do a lot of towing, we have something simple as a retrieval hitch, which enables to, if the machine was to get stuck or anything like that, then you're able to use another machine to pull it out. But, you wouldn't really need that with these machines with four-wheel drive and the power to ground that's generated from our powertrain. But as I say, there's a variety of tow hitch options to satisfy your needs. So Telehandler applications, these machines are an integral part of any farming operation. I've used the example of muck handling quite a lot. It's a good example for talking about some of our key features and benefits on our machine. But as you can see from the images that I've shown here from some of the customer sites we've visited, you know loading lorries with grain, heaping up grain, loading out potatoes, muck handling, as I've mentioned before, livestock clean out, as you go through the weeks and the months, clearing, especially during the winter, clearing out from behind your livestock, bale handling. We see a lot of the machines, especially the 3510, which, as I said, is a 3-section machine with a 10-meter reach. You're able to stack those bales relatively high, of course, up to 10 meters, which allows you to have much bigger bale stacks. So we see a lot of those machines running around the countryside across Europe during the harvest time, loading out bales. Silage work, working on the clamp, loading the clamp, defacing and using the silage shears of from the silage clamp through the year. And then, as I've mentioned before, trailer trains, excuse me, trailer towing. You can see here that one of the images shows a machine towing a trailer. So, versatile machines, they can do so many things on the farm. Nothing really moves onto the farm or out of the farm without being handled by a telehandler. And they are really the real Swiss Army knife of the machine world, from being able to put hydromechanical tools on, various buckets, various muck grabs, etc. They really are the versatile machine. So where can you go to find out more about the telehandlers? So top left is dealer.cat.com. Please go to dealer.cat.com, drill down into the equipment section of the website, and that'll bring you to, if we follow the arrows around my slide, that'll bring you to the various machine families, where of course you can drill down and see any of our Cat machines. But then, of course, if you drill down into telehandlers, you'll be able to find out more information about our telehandler range, some more bespoke information about each of the models. And then, if you have any more questions, please get in contact with your local Cat dealer, and they'll be able to answer any of your questions. So that's the end of my formal slides. And I've had a couple of questions come in. Can the machine run hydraulic mechanical tools using the front auxiliaries? Yes, Zamir, they can. So I've mentioned brooms, silage defacers. There is a small range of hydromechanical tools certified by Caterpillar, such as muck grabs, etc. But for any work tools that you've got any questions about, then please contact your local Cat dealer, and they'll be able to help answer those questions. What's the telehandler with the longest arm in the range? So I think you're asking what machine has the longest reach. So in the agricultural range, it's the 3510. So that's got just under 10 meters maximum reach at 9.8 meters. But if we think about our full range of telehandlers, then the TH417D, that's our construction/rental machine, and that has a 4-section boom, which has a max lift height and reach of 17 meters. I think we may have a couple more questions coming in. Okay. I have a question here. What's the benefit of the torque lockup? So I briefly touched on that. The benefit of the torque lockup is when we think about a machine such as the 3510, which I touched on briefly, a bale handling machine, That could be moving across various fields during the peak season and having to road a lot. So the ability to have a torque lockup means that at um, the required road speed, the torque converter, which is a fluid coupling between the engine and the transmission, is locked up. Torque converter, because it's fluid, there is some inefficiencies there. So if we were to have a torque lockup, then that allows for direct drive from the engine through the fluid coupler, which is the torque converter, into the transmission. So you're taking out that inefficiency. That inefficiency being taken out allows you to have greater road speed, and in effect, over a period of time, a few hours, you will see that in actual fact, a job that would have taken you, 2, 3 hours, you may get done in 1.5 to 2 hours. So you're getting some efficiency gains there by being able to complete the job that you were doing quicker, because you're able to move across farm sites quicker, etc. Just waiting for some, I think there's a few more questions coming in. Just waiting to see if there's any more questions that come in. We have a good question here. What's the timeline for the move to stage 5? So at the moment, we are in stage 4 with our machines. Our machines comply to stage 4, but we are utilizing, because our stage 5 for our power category, 56 to 130 kilowatts, and that actually went to stage 5 in Europe, which is the next emission stage for the EU. That actually came into effect January of this year, but machine manufacturers are allowed a period of time to transition to the new emissions phase, which is stage 5. And we're in the process of utilizing transition, as a lot of machine manufacturers are. But at the moment, we're planning to move to stage 5 the summer next year. So June 2021 is the plan at the moment. But that depends on if we get an increase in our machine orders, which will consume the transition engines that we have currently today. So we're all ready to go for stage 5, but we are just utilizing and taking our time to use the transition engines program. Thank you for that question. Good question. Okay, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate people tuning in and watching. Like I say, if you have any more questions, then please reach out to your local cat dealer. Thank you.